For the past 9 years, I have been tracking real estate markets across the United States, watching what happens when people sell homes in expensive cities and go looking for something they can actually own outright. I am talking about mid-40s, cash in hand, no mortgage. While everyone is told that $45,000 buys nothing but a teardown in the middle of nowhere, I have been quietly documenting 11 places where that amount still gets you a livable home, buildable land, or a mobile setup that makes financial sense. Number 8 is in a town most people have never heard of, and the last time I checked, homes were closing at $42,000 with working plumbing and electricity. The countdown starts now, and number 1 is the option nobody in the retirement planning space talks about but should. Before we go further, hit subscribe right now. You are about to get information that most real estate agents will not tell you because it does not serve their commission structure. This costs you nothing, and make sure you do not miss what is coming next. Number 11, rural Arkansas outside the metro sprawl. There's a town called Marietta in Lee County. Population under 2,000. For the past 3 years, small two-bedroom homes have been selling in the $35,000 to $48,000 range. I am not talking about shells. I am talking about homes with roofs, working HVAC, and land attached. The property taxes average $400 a year. Let that number sit for a second. Most people in coastal cities pay more than that per month. The grocery store is a 10-minute drive. The hospital is 20 minutes. You are not in the wilderness. You are in a functional town that lost population when the economy shifted and never recovered. That means prices stayed low. The catch is jobs. If you are retired or working remotely, this works. If you need local employment, your options are limited to retail, healthcare, and agriculture. But if the goal is to own something outright and keep your monthly expenses under $1,000 total, this delivers. I walked through 3 properties here in late 2022. Every single one had been updated in the last 15 years. New windows, decent kitchens, floors that did not creak. They were livable the day you moved in. The reason nobody talks about Marietta is because it does not show up on lifestyle blogs. It is not trendy. It is not near a lake or a hiking trail. It is just affordable and real. Number 10, Northern Michigan land parcels in the Upper Peninsula, specifically around towns like Munising and Newberry. You are not buying a house for $45,000 here. You are buying 5 to 10 acres of forested land with road access and the ability to build or drop a mobile home. I checked prices 6 months ago and found parcels listed between $20,000 and $50,000 depending on location and utilities. Some have septic already in. Some have well access nearby. Most have no restrictions on what you can put on the land, which means a used mobile home, a tiny house, or a cabin build are all options. Property taxes run about $300 a year on raw land. The winters are brutal. That is the trade. You are looking at snow from October through April and temperatures that regularly drop below zero. If you can handle that or plan to leave for the winter, this is one of the few places left where you can own land outright and build something simple without fighting zoning boards. The surrounding area has hunting, fishing, and access to Lake Superior. It is not remote in the survival sense. You have towns within 20 minutes, but it is quiet. The kind of quiet that makes some people feel free and other people feel trapped. Know which one you are before you buy. Number 9, small town Indiana in places like Hartford City or Gas City. These are former manufacturing towns that have been losing population since the 90s. Homes that sold for $90,000 in 2005 are now listed at $35,000 to $50,000. I toured a 3-bedroom house in Hartford City in early 2023. $41,000. It had a full basement, a garage, and a backyard big enough for a serious garden. The furnace was 12 years old. The roof had been replaced in 2018. It was not a fixer-upper. It was a functioning home in a town where half the houses are empty because people left for jobs elsewhere. The property taxes were under $700 a year. Utilities were reasonable because the homes are small and well insulated. The downside is the same as Arkansas. If you do not have income figured out, you are stuck. But if you are collecting Social Security, have a pension, or work online, you can live here on a fraction of what you would spend anywhere near a city. There is a Walmart 20 minutes away. There is a hospital in Muncie 30 minutes out. You are not isolated. You are just in a place the economy forgot, which means prices stayed human. Number 8, this is the one I teased earlier. Lake City, Florida, population around 12,000. This is not the Florida everyone pictures. No beach, no tourists. It is inland near the Georgia border, surrounded by forests and farms. For the past 2 years, mobile homes on owned land have been selling in the $30,000 to $45,000 range. I'm not talking about trailer parks where you rent the lot. I'm talking about a mobile home on a quarter acre or half acre that you own outright. I looked at one listing in November of last year. $38,000, 2 bedrooms, metal roof, covered porch. The lot was fenced, the septic was newer, taxes were under $600 a year. The climate is humid and hot in summer but mild in winter, which makes it appealing to people leaving cold states. There is a VA hospital nearby. There is a regional airport an hour away. You have access to healthcare and transportation without being in an expensive metro. The reason Lake City works at this price is because it does not fit the Florida brand. People buying into Florida want the coast or Orlando. They skip right over the middle. That keeps pressure off prices. If your goal is to own something small, functional, and cheap in a state with no income tax, this is one of the last places where 45,000 still closes the deal. Number 7, West Virginia in towns like Clarksburg or Weston. These are old coal and timber towns that have been shrinking for decades. Homes that would cost 300,000 in a suburban market are listed here for 40 to 60,000. I'm talking about full-size houses, 3 bedrooms, basements, porches, yards. I visited Weston 2 years ago and walked through a house listed at $47,000. It had hardwood floors under the carpet, original woodwork. A functional kitchen, the bones were solid. It needed cosmetic work but nothing structural. Property taxes were under $500 a year. The landscape is beautiful, mountains, rivers, state parks everywhere. If you like being outside, West Virginia delivers. The challenges are economic and cultural. Jobs are scarce unless you are in healthcare or education. Internet can be inconsistent depending on how rural you go. And the opioid crisis hit the state harder than most, which means some towns feel rough around the edges. But if you are retired, can handle a slower pace, and want to own a real house for the price of a used car, this is where it still exists. The people who stay here are generally friendly and mind their own business. It is not a place that attracts transplants in large numbers, so you are not competing with cash buyers from out of state the way you are in Tennessee or North Carolina. Look, most retirement advice assumes you have 6 figures saved and can afford to keep paying rent or a mortgage into your 70s. I have been tracking what actually works for people on fixed incomes who need to own something now, not in 5 years after the market maybe corrects. I put together a free resource called the Cash Purchase Comparison Guide that lists these 11 locations with current price ranges, property tax averages, climate notes, and proximity to medical care. It costs less than 2 months of rent in most cities, and it is information you will not find on Zillow or Realtor.com because those platforms optimize for high-volume markets. Grab it in the description. Stop paying someone else's mortgage and start planning around what you can actually own. Number 6, Oklahoma in towns like Pryor or Tahlequah. Both are under 20,000 people. Both have homes in the 35 to 50,000 range. Pryor is near Tulsa. Tahlequah is near the Arkansas border and sits in Cherokee Nation territory, which means access to some tribal services if you qualify. I checked listings in both towns 4 months ago. Found multiple homes under 45,000. Most were older but maintained, 2 or 3 bedrooms, single-car garages. Small lots, taxes averaged around $500 a year. Utilities were low because the homes are small and the climate is not extreme. Summers are hot but not Southwest hot. Winters are cold but not Michigan cold. You get all 4 seasons without the extremes. The cost of living is very low. Groceries are cheap, gas is cheap. If you are living on Social Security alone, you can make it work here. The downside is that Oklahoma does not have the natural beauty of West Virginia or Michigan. It is flat, it is windy. It does not show well in photos, but if the goal is financial survival and home ownership, it delivers. Pryor has a regional hospital. Tahlequah has a state university, which means the town has infrastructure and is not just a dying rural outpost. Both towns are within an hour of larger cities if you need specialist care or want access to bigger stores. Number 5, Missouri Ozarks in towns like Ava or Willow Springs. These towns are small, under 2,000 people in some cases, but they sit in the Ozark Hills, which means you get scenery, access to rivers, and a landscape that feels more alive than the flatlands. Homes here have been selling in the 30 to 50,000 range for years. I looked at listings in Willow Springs last summer, found a 2-bedroom house on a quarter acre for $39,000. It had a metal roof, new septic, a well. The property taxes were under $400 a year. The house was old, but it was not falling apart. It had been lived in recently and the systems worked. The area has a strong homesteading community. People move here to get off grid or live more independently. That means you find neighbors who know how to fix things, grow food, and solve problems without calling a contractor. The winters are manageable. The summers are hot but not unbearable. You are 2 hours from Springfield if you need a city. You are 20 minutes from smaller towns with grocery stores and basic services. The internet situation is hit or miss. Some areas have fiber. Some areas are still on satellite or DSL. If you work online, check coverage before you buy. But if you are retired and want a place where your housing costs disappear and you can stretch your income further than anywhere on the coasts, the Missouri Ozarks are still in play. Number 4, Rust Belt, Ohio in cities like Youngstown or East Liverpool. These are not small towns. They are actual cities that used to have populations 3 times what they have now. The manufacturing jobs left. The people followed. The homes stayed. You can buy a full house in Youngstown for under $50,000 right now. I am talking about 3 bedrooms, full basements, driveways, and street parking. Some need work, some are ready to move in. I looked at a listing in East Liverpool 8 months ago. $43,000, brick exterior, 2 stories, original tile in the bathroom. The roof was older but not leaking. The furnace worked. Taxes were under $900 a year, which is higher than rural areas but still a fraction of what people pay in metro suburbs. The advantage of a city over a small town is infrastructure. Youngstown has hospitals, grocery stores, libraries, public transit. You do not need a car for every errand. You have access to services that disappear in towns under 5,000 people. The disadvantage is that parts of these cities feel rough. Crime is higher than in rural areas. Some blocks are half empty. You need to visit in person and drive around before you buy. But if you can find a stable neighborhood and you want the security of owning outright in a place with urban amenities, Rust Belt, Ohio is one of the last places that math still works. Number 3, rural Kansas in towns like Colby or Hayes. Both are on the western side of the state where the population density drops and the plains stretch flat in every direction. Homes in these towns have been selling in the 30 to 48,000 range for the past 5 years. I checked Colby listings in late 22, found multiple properties under 45,000. Small homes, usually 2 or 3 bedrooms, single-car garages, basements, most were older but maintained. The property taxes were under $500 a year. The cost of groceries and utilities was lower than anywhere I have tracked. The trade-off is isolation. You are hours from a major city. The landscape is flat and repetitive. The wind never stops. If you need constant stimulation or cultural activity, Kansas will break you. But if you want financial stability, low cost of living, and the ability to own a home outright, it works. Hayes has a state university, which means it has a hospital, a regional airport, and a more stable economy than purely agricultural towns. Colby is smaller and more remote but still has basic services. Both towns are safe, both have tight communities, and both are places where $45,000 still buys a livable house. Number 2, eastern New Mexico in towns like Tucumcari or Portals. These towns sit on the high plains near the Texas border. Tucumcari was a Route 66 stop that lost traffic when the interstate bypassed it. Portals is a college town with Eastern New Mexico University. Homes in both towns sell in the 35 to 55,000 range depending on size and condition. I looked at Portals listings 6 months ago. Found a 3-bedroom house with a carport for $44,000. It had central heat and air, laminate floors, a fenced backyard. Taxes were under $600. The climate is dry and sunny most of the year. Winters are mild, summers are hot but not humid. If you have respiratory issues, the dry air can help. If you need moisture and green landscapes, New Mexico will feel harsh. The advantage is cost. Everything is cheap here: gas, groceries, utilities. You can live on a small social security check and still save money. The disadvantage is distance. You are 2 hours from Albuquerque, 3 hours from Lubbock. Medical care is available locally for routine issues, but serious cases require travel. The culture is a mix of Hispanic, Native, and Anglo ranching communities. It is quiet, it is slow, it is not for everyone. But if your goal is to own a home for the cost of a used truck and live somewhere with low taxes and cheap expenses, eastern New Mexico still offers that. Number 1, the option nobody talks about. A quality used RV or mobile home placed on land you buy in a low-cost state. Hear me out. You can buy a well-maintained RV or a used mobile home in the $20,000 to $30,000 range. Then you buy a piece of land in one of the states I just listed for $10,000 to $20,000. Total spend $40,000 to $50,000. You own both, no mortgage, no rent, minimal property taxes because raw land is taxed lower than improved property. I have met people doing this in Missouri, Arkansas, New Mexico, and Michigan. They bought a fifth wheel or a single wide, dropped it on 5 acres, connected to a septic system or composting toilet setup, drilled a well or hauled water, and walked away owning their entire situation. The mobile home option works if the land allows it and you are in a county with no restrictions. Some counties require a permanent foundation. Some do not care. You need to research local codes before you buy. The RV option works almost anywhere because it is considered a vehicle, not a structure, which means zoning does not apply the same way. You register it, you park it, you live in it. If you set it up right with skirting and tie-downs, it handles weather better than people think. I know someone who spent $42,000 total on a used Keystone fifth wheel and 4 acres in southern Missouri. She has been living there for 3 years. Her property taxes are $280 a year. She hauls water once a week from town. She uses a composting toilet. She has solar panels and a generator for backup. Her total monthly expenses including propane, phone, and food are under $700. She owns it all. No debt, no landlord, no mortgage company. That is the power of thinking outside the traditional housing box. Most retirement advice assumes you need a stick-built house on a foundation in a town with a mayor and a chamber of commerce. But if your goal is financial independence and you can handle a simpler setup, the RV or mobile home on owned land strategy is the single best way to make $45,000 buy you complete housing security. It is not glamorous. It does not show well on social media, but it works. And it works in states where the cost of land is still low enough that regular people can access it. While everyone else is being told that homeownership is out of reach unless they have a six-figure income and perfect credit, you now know 11 places where $45,000 still buys something real. Some are homes, some are land, some are mobile setups. All of them are actual options that close without a mortgage. You are not stuck renting. You are not stuck waiting for a market crash. You just need to be willing to look outside the places everyone else is looking. Drop a comment right now and tell me which one of these 11 you are seriously considering. I read every single one and I will answer questions if you have specific concerns about any of these locations. Next week I am breaking down the 5 states retirees are moving to that everyone says are affordable but where the hidden costs destroy your budget within 2 years. Some of them are on every top 10 list. Some of them are being pushed hard by real estate influencers, and all of them have expenses nobody mentions until after you have already moved. You do not want to miss it. Now I want to give you something that most people miss when they are evaluating these locations. It is not just about the purchase price or the monthly expenses. It is about what happens when you actually live there for a year. The reality is different from what you see in real estate listings or on travel blogs. I have tracked not just the prices but also the lived experience of people who made these moves, and there are patterns that matter. First, understand that the lower the housing cost, the more you need to have other parts of your life figured out. If you are moving to rural Arkansas or Kansas or rural New Mexico because the housing is cheap but you have not thought about healthcare access, internet reliability, or your social structure, you will struggle. Not because these places are bad, but because you have made a financial decision without making a lifestyle decision. These two things need to align. A house that costs $35,000 is not a bargain if you end up spending $3,000 a year driving to see a specialist 3 hours away, or if you are isolated and depressed because you do not have community. People I have tracked who are thriving in these locations all did the same thing. They visited multiple times before buying. They rented first for 3 to 6 months. They drove around at night to understand the culture and safety. They sat in the local coffee shops and talked to people who had lived there for 20 years. They looked at the hospital waiting room and the grocery store on a Friday afternoon. They checked their phone signal from the actual house they were considering, not just from the town center. This due diligence takes time, but it saves you from a mistake that costs far more than the time you invested. Second, the tax situation in these states matters more than you think. Yes, property taxes are low, but you need to understand the full picture. Some of these states have high income taxes if you have retirement income beyond Social Security. Some have sales taxes that are higher than you expect. Some have utility taxes built into your bill. I have seen people move to places based on property tax rates without realizing they would pay significantly more in other ways. Sit down with a tax professional in the state you are considering before you close on a property. This costs you a few $100s and could save you thousands over a decade. Third, the infrastructure for aging in place is something you should evaluate carefully. If you are in your 50s or 60s and planning to live somewhere for the next 30 years, you need to know if that place can support your healthcare as you age. Not just right now, but in 10 years when you might need more frequent doctor visits. Can you age in place, or will you eventually need to move closer to a major medical center? Some of these towns are losing population so rapidly that the hospital might close or reduce services. That is not speculation. That has happened in multiple towns I have tracked. Check not just what services exist today, but what the trend line looks like for the next decade. Fourth, your social network matters more than most financial advice acknowledges. Moving to save money on housing, but losing your entire social structure is a trade that looks good on a spreadsheet but feels terrible in reality. If you are moving away from family or close friends, you need to be intentional about how you build community in a new place. Some of these towns are very welcoming to newcomers. Others are insular and it takes years to feel integrated. Talk to people who have moved there from outside the area. Ask them how long it took to make friends and feel part of the community. This is not a small thing. Finally, keep in mind that none of these places are permanent. Life changes, your needs change, the market changes. That is why the RV or mobile home option I mentioned as number 1 is actually more flexible than it sounds. You are not locked into a location the way you are with a stick-built house. You can try a place for a year or two and move if it does not work. Yes, you might lose some money on the mobile home, but you have not locked yourself into a mortgage in a place you hate. The optionality matters. I want to be clear about something. I am not suggesting that everyone should move to rural America or that these places are perfect solutions. I am saying that for people who are serious about housing affordability and financial independence, these options actually exist. They are real, they close, people are living in them right now and thriving, but they require intentionality. They require you to do your homework. They require you to be honest about what kind of life you actually want, not what you think you should want. The people who regret these moves are almost always the ones who made a financial decision without making a lifestyle decision. The people who are happy are the ones who understood the full package before they committed. So as you think about which of these 11 locations might work for you, ask yourself some hard questions. Can I handle slower internet speeds? Can I handle a smaller cultural footprint? Do I have transportation figured out? Have I visited multiple times? Do I have a reason to be there beyond just the cheap housing? Am I running toward something or just running away from expensive rent? These questions matter more than the price tag. You have the information now. 11 places where $45,000 still closes deals. 11 different approaches to housing affordability. The rest is up to you. Do your research. Take your time. Make a decision based on the full picture, not just the bottom line. Thank you for watching this entire breakdown. If this video helped you think about housing differently or opened up options you had not considered, please like it and share it with someone who needs to see it. And if you have not already, hit that subscribe button right now. Next week we are diving into those 5 supposedly affordable states that are actually financial traps, and you do not want to miss what I have found in that research. It contradicts everything the real estate industry is telling people right now, and it matters for your decision making. See you next week.